You are listening to The Art of Sales. Everyone sells every day, and this is your source for conversational, real-world sales and prospecting methods that you are comfortable using and that get results. You'll help people buy instead of pushing them into being sold. Here's your host, Art Subcheck.
Everybody, and welcome. Today we have a very special show for you. From time to time, I like to have guests on the show, and as you know, it's not typically the gurus that you hear on all the other shows, but I like to have people who are out there actually practicing the art, no pun intended, and the science of sales. And today's guest is pretty amazing. Tommy Mello is the owner and operator of A1 Garage Door Service. He's also the host of the Home Service Expert podcast and owner, partner, or investor in 14 other businesses, ranging from Christmas lights to real estate to mobile apps. In 2010, Tommy became the sole owner and operator of a single Phoenix-based garage door service business, and that came with $50,000 in debt. Now, today, A1 Garage Door generates north of $30 million in annual revenue with over 250 employees in 12 states. Tommy's a regular contributor to Inc. magazine, Entrepreneur, and other business publications on the topic of entrepreneurship and small business, as well as a sought-after podcast, radio, and television guest. And he's also the author of the new book, Home Service Millionaire, which we're going to talk a little bit about as we get into the program. And when he's not in the office or working on the business, which I have a hard time to believe it's not like 24/7, you're going to find him on a plane headed to exotic destinations or chasing the little white ball around one of our many golf courses here in Arizona, which we did recently. Tommy, welcome.
Thank you so much, Art. I appreciate the opportunity to be on the show.
Great to have you here. And I mean, I've got to know first of all, what's a typical day like for you? You got your hand in so many different things. It's awesome that you took time out to be with us here today, but is there a typical day for you?
Yeah, it seems like I've got a lot of great people around me now. If there seems to be time that just gets swallowed through my day, we figure out a way to properly delegate it and hire the right people and give them the right incentive program to make it worth their while. That's one thing I've realized this last year is paying people more on a performance than a type of earned position. Like, you've been here 2 years, we'll give you an extra $1. No, we'll give you a way you can make $30 an hour versus, 15, but you got to book more phone calls. So it's, I start my day, I get to work around 7:30, and then try to get done around 6. But I take phone calls all night because I'm not married and no kids.
Kind of married to the business a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, let me just tell the audience here a little bit of background. I've known Tommy for a while, and he actually asked me to be on his podcast, which I did, and it was awesome. And in preparation for that, now I already knew the guy was amazing, and every time I talk to him, he actually motivates me because of all the stuff that he's involved in. And in preparation for his show, I actually went out and got a copy of his brand new book, Home Service Millionaire. And I was just going to read the sales part of it, but I wound up taking the entire evening. Actually, it kept me up that night. And I read the entire book. And when he talks about home service, this book isn't just for people who are in the garage door business. This is for anybody that is any type of home service business. What are some of the other ones that encompasses, Tommy?
Home service goes everything from redoing your driveway to landscaping to roofing to chimney repair, anything that typically Home Advisor covers. And what we found is I've had a lot of realtors read the book, and they said that they've got a lot just out of the KPI and processes and learning how to motivate people. And that's really who it's for, though. Is I made it directly for home service professionals.
If you're not a home service professional, if you're listening to this, don't worry, because we're going to focus on really what is what I feel the most important part of the book, or really the most important part of any business, and that's the sales aspect of it. And Tommy's certainly a master of that, both on the technique and the process side. So let's start kind of at the beginning here, Tommy. Like most successful entrepreneurs, you started selling pretty early. So tell us about your first paid sales job.
Okay, so I had a mentor, and we used to do landscaping. So I was literally mowing lawns and doing the weed whacking and edging, and that was the business. And then I met this mentor who at the time was probably in his early 50s. And he said, could I show you how to do sales? And I said, explain to me what we're talking about. He goes, well, you're selling apples right now, and everybody has apples. Everybody can mow a lawn. He goes, let's do something different that no one else offers. So we went into this huge medical society, and he told me, let's count all these things that we could convert to a drip system. So we counted how many gallons per minute these sprinkler systems were putting out and how much gallons we could save per drip. And he literally did the math, broke it out in less than 5 minutes. And then he went and talked to the guy there in front of me. We talked for about an hour and a half. We went down a pain funnel with the guy, and we literally told him we could save him. It was thousands of gallons per month, like tens of thousands. And we showed him how much money we could save him. And we tripled the price of what he was paying today, which was $850. We got over $2,500. And that was my first lesson. And then he took me to his side and taught me a lot of things like that. And I was fortunate enough to just see a lot of read between the lines. Like when Craigslist came out, I would buy Bowflexes and Total Gyms on Arizona, or I'd buy them on Craigslist and then sell them for triple the price on Arizona Republic. And there were weeks that I'd buy 10 at a time. And I never let the ad stop running in the Arizona Republic because I learned it was a different avatar. So I've been in sales since I could remember, but those were when I really started to sharpen my skills and learn to stop selling apples to apples and start selling oranges.
So you started out doing landscaping. Your mentor showed you how to get into the irrigation business, and in the meantime, you're doing all these side gigs. You're selling things on Craigslist. How did you get into the garage door business?
So one of my roommates actually at the time, he said, "Hey, I got this job at this garage door company. I'm making $50,000 answering phones there, but they had a commission structure." And I kind of laughed. I was like, I've never heard of a broken garage door. I mean, I have no idea what you're talking about. And we kind of made fun of him, me and my other roommate. And a couple months went by and he knew I was a hustler. And he goes, "Tommy, do you know how to paint garage doors?" And I'm like, I have no clue. And he said, "Can you figure it out?" I said, "What does it pay?" He goes, $100 per door, and I can get you 15 to 20 per week. So I sat there. I hired the top painter I could find that would train me. We went out 3 times. He trained me, told me what to buy, liked that I was young, eager, and wanted to go out there and just get it. He taught me how to tape everything off, do it. I got to the point, Art, when I could do 10 doors in a day, and I called every other company. I called every single other company, and I became the painter for 10 other companies in Phoenix. So instead of doing 10 to 15 to 20, I was doing 40. So that was $4,000. And I was in my early 20s. So that was real money on top of bartending and doing the other stuff. Because I drove a G20 Infinity, saved on gas. I could tape up and paint a garage door. I used to time myself. I got to under 20 minutes. So it was kind of just thrown into there by fortune, I guess.
So you were actually doing the painting yourself at that time?
I was doing the painting myself. And then all of a sudden a customer started asking me, "Hey, I was thinking about doing this. I was thinking about this." And my other roommate said, "Tommy, you got this landscape thing figured out. I don't know how you came up with water conservation analysis, but you've done an LLC. You pay your city taxes. You know how to budget. You're successful. I have no idea about business. Based on your landscaping business, maybe we could get into business together." And I said, "Why don't we just do a ride along for a week?" And my eyes lit up. This was the time before the bubble in Arizona. So everybody had money. Their house was worth way more than they had put into it. And they didn't mind spending money. We went out to a guy's house and we told him he wanted 5 remotes. And we said, it's $50 a piece. And he goes, "Well, I don't want to program them." He goes, "I need you guys to get up on a ladder and do that," because we were just going to drop them off. And my partner goes, "If you want us to program them, it's going to be $100 per remote." And the guy said yes. And that's when I knew I had to be in this business.
So you were only in the painting business up till that point, and now you're thinking, I'm already there. They've got garage doors. They've got problems. I can sell other things.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And when I got to see it in motion, I think my partner was great, and he was very confident and knew how to. I'd say he was great at confrontation, eye contact, getting over objections, and I learned a lot from him as well. And he lacked the ability to want to book phone calls. He liked to work around his schedule. He didn't want to answer the calls at night. He never learned properly how to fix a garage door for like a Wayne Dalton. So when I got into it, I literally went to Wayne Dalton and had them train me on everything. Then I went to Clopay. Then I went to Cookson. And I went to all these places, and I became a master technician first because I felt like you gotta believe in what you're selling for the most part. And that's what I needed to be able to believe.
So was this officially a garage door repair company at this point, or were you still a painting company? What's the whole chronology here?
It kind of, in 2010 is when I basically gave him an ultimatum, and I took on the debt because we built some debt, and I had a hard time. Partnerships are tough, and he's still my best friend. He lives in Montana now. He's not involved in garage doors whatsoever. He's involved with insurance sales, but I kind of did about a year where I was painting and fixing them at the same time. And then when I realized how much money I can make, I pretty much, the people that I was painting for saw me as competition, and they let me do it for a while. And then I started doing a lot of advertising, and they're like, dude, you're kind of putting a dent in our business. So the painting kind of fell apart, which didn't really matter to me because I was spending so much money now in marketing, making the phones ring. And what's interesting, Art, is I look at this and I talk to home service companies every day. I'm actually going to be the keynote speaker at this window washing, power washing thing in February, and there's going to be 600 people, and every single one of them fail to some extent in their call center. And whether it's a capacity board, whether it's because they don't have the ability to book and get over price objections, whether they don't know what marketing sources work the best. But I love what you're doing because it's so very important that you book the calls you're paying marketing to make the phone ring.
Since you brought that up, let's get into that, because I wanted to touch on the point and tell the audience that, this guy really is a marketing wizard. And his book, Home Service Millionaire, it's really a blueprint that every home service business owner should follow. And we could talk for hours about all the great ideas in there. But again, since this is a sales show, we're going to zero in on the importance of what you just mentioned here, and that's the human-to-human contact in your business. And also, if you're not in the home service business, don't worry, because we're going to discuss how any sales professional in any business can learn from your successes and mistakes. So let's talk about the incoming call. Now, you spent a ton of money on getting the phone to ring. So give us some must-dos, things that you tell your incoming call people that they have to do on that first phone contact.
Well, a lot of people, I'll just say this. I get this question all the time. What should my booking rate be? And I say there's a lot of questions I have for you. Is it Craigslist you're posting on, or is it Dave Ramsey Radio? And they said, well, what's the difference? I said, the people that call me from Dave Ramsey say, Dave Ramsey sent me and I want to use your company, versus Craigslist are going for the cheapest first available. So I think it really depends. Your booking rate depends on the quality and the avatar that you're hitting first and foremost. So I tell my people, there's level 1 and level 2. I believe you should always have a different level. And then we've got our supervisors. So the first one's not allowed to give any price quotes because they would do the minimum viable product and they'd always go straight to price. So we don't allow them to. So first, level 1 has a certain way of doing it, and we do not give any prices. And if they can't do it, level 2 is allowed to give prices to a certain extent. And level 3 is a supervisor that could really get it. And if they can't do it, it transfers to a manager line. Now, you might be saying, holy cow, they're talking to 4 people. We've got a really great way of transitioning the call. So first, we teach them to know when they're losing the conversation. If they feel like there's certain buzzwords like, oh, let me check with my husband. Oh, well, I'll call you back. Or if it starts getting where you're losing them and the tone of voice changes, we say, I don't feel like I'm equipped to answer your question properly, but I do have someone in here right now. If you don't mind, I'll grab them real quick. But here's what's key, Art. I've already grabbed, instead of answering the phone, hello, this is Tommy. How can I help you? We say, who do I have the pleasure of speaking with? And can I grab your phone number in case we get disconnected? And we've got a really nice way of doing that. So we're grabbing their info. And then another big failure with most call centers is typically the last thing I'll say is, what do I need to do to earn your business? And they'll say, I always have to talk to my husband about stuff. Like, you gave me a good idea. And the biggest change that I see that we've done that most companies don't is, what time is Mr. Jones going to be in today? And they go, he gets home at 6. Would you mind if I called you back at 6:30? And here's the great thing, Miss Jones. If you find a better price, we offer a price beat guarantee. If you find somebody that can get out quicker, which is very unlikely because we've got full availability, and I'll do whatever I can to get that job on the books, but I'll say, whatever we got to do to earn your business. And the big thing I say, Art, is I make it so non-threatening. I say, where do you live, Art? And you'll say, I live on Shea and 132nd Street. Well, I got one of my top technicians. He's a lead technician. He's going to be in your area today between 4 and 6. And you told me this evening worked great. What do you say I have him just stop by? I'll tell you what you're looking at. He'll have the stuff on the truck. If you don't like what he has to say, send him on his way. But while he's in the neighborhood, how does that sound? So it's non-threatening. And I'd say that's a pretty over. I can tell you a lot about the call center, but those are some of the things I think we do a little bit differently.
Yeah, let's unpack some of this because you covered a lot there, and I think a lot of people who handle incoming inquiries can learn from this. Now, you mentioned that you're not giving out a price quote on the initial call. So is the goal for that incoming call to just simply get one of your technicians out there without giving a price quote?
Absolutely, 100%.
And so let's say, and we all, anybody here who has called any type of home service technician for anything, we've all experienced this before. And I got to say, most of those calls are handled very poorly, except the case of your business, which I did experience. I'm going to share a little bit more about that here in a little bit. But let's say somebody calls in and they get the greeting that you just mentioned, and then me as the consumer says, yeah, I've got a problem with my garage door, and I'd like to get a price quote from you. So how is it handled from there?
So typically we'll get them talking, we'll ask some questions. So the best thing we can do is control the conversation with questions. Can you tell me a little bit about the garage door? How did you hear about us? Then we explain to them, it's very, very hard. It's kind of like a mechanic diagnosing your car over the phone. What we'd like to do is get somebody out there because we're not a bait and switch company. If we give you a price and we change it, how would you feel? And then they say, well, the other company was able to give us a price. And then I teach them just enough to say, did they ask you about the radius of the track? Did they ask you if it's made out of wood or metal? I'm like, there's springs that go all the way up to a 500-pound door. And they just told you a price without asking those questions? I mean, if you're looking for a ballpark, I could probably provide that, but I got to go through a series of questions, and I'd like one of my managers to jump on the phone, or I just have somebody come by and take a look. It's no charge to you. Usually we charge a $20 fee, but I could get that waived because there are certain people that are just, they need to have a vicinity of a price. And I understand that. I'm one of those people. What we find is about 70% of the people don't need it. Those other 30%, and I know there's a lot of air conditioning companies, a lot of roofers that say, I will not even give you a ballpark. And they lose those calls. And I guess it depends on the industry because they found over time maybe they're not worth their money, but or the time to go out there. But for me, I want to book almost every call as long as the person has the intent to buy when my technician's out there. So I asked that question too. If everything sounds good, obviously you did the research on our company. If you like what the technician has to say and you feel like the price is a good value for what you're purchasing, is this something you want to do then and there when the technician gets there? They say, yeah, my garage door is broke. If I like what I hear, I'll do it right then and there. Versus a tenant that's saying, no, I'm getting 5 quotes from my landlord.
Love that. So you're getting a commitment in advance before they even show up.
Correct.
So what really impressed me in your book was the entire sales process, because I'm big on sales process, and the level of detail that you go into, all the little things that contribute to the sale, and not only the sale, but most importantly, a satisfied customer, and not somebody who felt like they were being pushed into something like many of us have when we're talking to a home service person. So if you could, and by the way, for the audience here, I did experience every step of this, and even though I knew you, I was blown away by the things that I experienced, because these are not things that typically happen when you deal with somebody who's coming to fix or install or, give you a quote on something. So if you could kind of go through these at a high level, the different steps in the process and some of the things that you and your people do that make you different.
So I teach a thing to every single person that works, so-called REF, and that's build rapport, educate, and follow up. And if you do that properly, you've got a huge advantage. So in the contact portal of the portion of the job, I literally call customers. Not only does our software send a text message of a profile on the way and tell you a little bit about what he looks like and where he's at. It's got an Uber-like feature. But my technicians will call, and not every single one has adopted this, but usually I'll say, hey, Art, just to let you know, my name's Tommy Mello. I'm your A1 garage door technician. I'm here to get your garage door fixed. I'm going to be stopping off at 7-Eleven. If you need a water, coffee, anything I can get you for the fam, just to let you know, I'm here to get the garage door fixed. Is there anything I could grab you on the way? So I'm building rapport. Like, what kind of technician calls on the way and offers to pick them up something because they're stopping at 7-Eleven?
I know, that's crazy. And I was waiting for your guy, and I looked, like, my phone just buzzed, and I looked, and it was a text, and with his picture, and I'm thinking, how cool is that? I mean, again, who does that?
It's pretty cool, and a lot of people that have the ability to have the technology don't know how to program it and use it correctly. I'm a huge fan of people, technology, and the process dictates the people that we hire. But then you arrive, and I'm a big fan of your arrival is very important. We got these beautiful wrap trucks. We like to make sure that you can see it when we pull up and that you smell appropriately, because, it's 125 degrees out there and they're sweating. And, for the most part, I don't hire smokers, but there's some guys, and I don't want them walking up to my customers sweating, smelling like smoke. So tuck your shirt in, make sure you got deodorant on, make sure you look adequate. So arrival is very important. And then we always ask the same questions, but we figure out a way to deliver it. So this is a beautiful home, Art. How long have you lived here? I'm really impressed. This looks like you just got the house painted. And, I've been here about 8 years, whatever. And then, is this the first time you've had an issue with the door? When was it looked at last? And then, tell me exactly what's going on with it. And the process of talking to you and talking to you about your golf clubs and your, John Madden poster on the wall and your skis and everything else I could find to kind of get on your level and build rapport with you. I'm literally finding out how long you plan on staying in the home. I looked at your house. Do you have a Nest that you can control the thermostat? Because then I know you'd be interested in a smart garage door opener. There's so many things I teach the guys, the devil's in the details. And by asking the questions and nodding my head yes and asking yes questions, and talking about the buzzwords like safe and dangerous. And I never use the word, I hate the word, it's a 4-letter word for me, Art, recommend. I hate the word recommend, because if you recommend something, chances are I don't need it. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Actually, I got stuck here on your questions, and again, this isn't. I mean, this is high level sales that most people don't even realize that it's going on. Obviously, when this person's standing there in their garage, you're not only teaching them to ask these questions, but very importantly, you must be teaching them 3 and 4 layers deep what they're looking for and what they're going to do with that information.
Well, we teach what's called personality profiling. We use the DISC assessment, and when I walk in the house and I'm asking the guy, when was this looked at last? And he says, well, Tommy, let me tell you what, I've done my research. I've lubricated this thing every week or every year. And I've done, I can tell you this, the cable seems misaligned and those drums, and those are C-type personalities. And my response to you would be, wow, Mr. Anderson, you know just as much as me, if not more, about this. Maybe you could give me a hand when we go to fix this. And they love that. They're like, oh, yeah, I can do anything. I can fix anything. And I've done my research. So the way that people react, a deep type personality goes, look, what does it need? I want it soup to nuts. Let's get it done. I just want it to work for me. So we've learned how to teach our guys how to respond to certain personality types in a way that makes them feel comfortable. See, I don't believe my famous line that I use, if this was my mother's door, here's what I would do. I don't need a lie cheater still to make money in this industry, but they have to believe me. There's three things. They have to trust me, they have to like me, and they have to trust me, like me, and what's the other one? Like, they have to believe me, but that's not the one I was looking for. I tell my guys this all the time, and I'm brain farting right now, but if they trust me and they like me, the chances are they're going to buy from me.
And everything you're doing up to this point is building on that and contributing to that. Like all the things you talked about, the appearance and the little things that you're doing and offering to pick them something up. That's all. And again, it's different and it's surprising, but psychologically, it's adding to your credibility, your likability, your trustworthiness, all of those things. So, and what I like also, again, is you're teaching them when to talk, when to dig deeper, and when to shut up. So if you've got the D and they just want the job done, they know just to give them the, you call it the pitch, and then I would assume you're going to tell them, let's get it closed. So walk us through the next steps in the process.
The one thing that I like that I always do is when I go in there to fix whatever, you called me out and you wanted a new opener. That's why you called me out. A lot of companies start out with a checklist. And then I say, Art, hey, I found 9 other things wrong. You go, oh, okay. Well, Tommy, leave me a quote. I wasn't planning on spending that money today. So the pitch is just based on that opener. I'm not looking at anything else. And then I give you the pitch at the bare minimum of what I need to do. And then as part of our service, we'll go ahead and do a 28-point safety inspection, check it out. Most likely everything's fine, but if there's any red flags, I'll let you know, Art. So I got you to make a buying decision before I started my inspection. Because so many people, they blow it. They go, I see that your springs are bad and your cable's frayed and this and that. And they go, well, you still didn't obligate yourself to use me yet. So I saw exactly what we went out there for. And then what I've learned to do is you've already paid for labor, Art. I'm already here. But I noticed you had a fray cable. If you want to come out here and check this out, here's the repercussions of not replacing this. And the bottom rubber, the thing that stops all those nasty bugs and the scorpions and the spiders from coming in here, it's completely worn out. And this is the number one spot they're going to come into. As it starts to get more warm out here, they start to come in and they seek the cold. And this is where they're coming in, Art. And you go, okay, so, normally it's $125 more per labor if I was not doing the opener that I'm doing. But while I'm here, I can do this and this, so I package it. Just like the cable and the alarm company, you do a package price. People love to buy. And here's what's so cool about package pricing is when you buy a car, Art, and you buy it and you say, I want this fully loaded, I want the warm seats, the warmers, I want the moonroof, whatever, is people can't put a dollar amount on every single aspect when it's a package. They can't really figure out, well, was it $200 for the moonroof? Was it $500? So packaging kind of says, well, I got all this stuff and it makes sense. And then the backup on the sales process is I call a manager. And when you call me, I say, okay, Ben, tell me what's going on out there. And then I back everything up that Ben just said. I said, by the way, Art, my name's Tommy. I'm one of the managers. Ben's one of my best technicians. Based on what he's telling me, he already went through and did show and tell with you and showed you why the parts are worn out. It sounds like to me you just didn't plan on spending the money today. Is that what I'm hearing? Yeah, just things are tight, blah, 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 blah. Well, Ben also tells me you need a bottom rubber, an operator bracket, and this. If I could get this all done for you today, everything for $500, let's just get it done. You don't have to worry about it. You won't have to see us next 6 months. If we get it all done and it's dependable and it works and it's safe, would that work for you? And 9 times out of 10, I'll get it because they just heard from the second person in a row of person that's higher in command that this is what you should do. And I could do this every day, all day. And I could do this in air conditioning. I could do this for the emergency 911 because I've got a confident tone. People understand that I know what I'm talking about. At least I sound like I do. And they feel like they're getting a better deal. And I don't let my guys just roll around prices and say, oh, yeah, let's make a deal today. But as the manager or the owner, it's very easy for me to do that and say, listen, my guy's already there. We've already got the windshield time. We've got his time. Let's just get it done. Will this earn your business? Because my goal, Art, is that you tell your friends, neighbors, and family about how great we were. Because 40% of all of our business comes through referrals. And we're hoping that you'll be the next one to give us a referral.
So you have, several managers sitting in an office, and essentially they're salespeople. So they're there to do two things. One is add credibility to what your technician just presented to them, but then also they're there to deal with any resistance or objections, and they have the power to negotiate if they need to. Is that right?
Correct. So I have a manager in all 12 states, and then I have about 5 in Phoenix. So it hits a manager. We've got a pretty good hunt group that if you hit a certain number, it goes to all of us and rings at the same time, and whoever picks it up first handles it.
And so then you've got the close, which is done by either that person or the technician. What's the process there?
Well, the close is actually, it's 8 and 9 on here. So it says secure the relationship. This is when I finished and I'm going through and I say, let's run the door 4 times. Let me make sure you're happy with everything. I clean up in front of you. I wash everything. I blow out the garage door. I throw everything out. I give you a demo of how to lubricate everything. I go through everything. And here's the deal. I've already collected the check. So what I find is most people, once they get that check, they're ready to go on their next job, right? And then all of a sudden, that person's gone within 5 minutes of collecting payment. And there's all of a sudden this huge buyer's remorse that hits you. But when you take the time and you spend 15, 20 minutes after you collected the check or the credit card or the payment, the cash, the people go, oh, wow, I don't feel taken. He took the time. He went over every detail. I feel so good that I put my faith in this guy and this company because 20 minutes after he got paid, he still took the time to run the door, clean everything, show me where the stickers were, just explain the invoice, everything. And that's where I find so many companies fail. The minute they get paid is the minute they're gone. And in the home service industry specifically, it's a huge issue.
Yeah, I was just thinking of my own experience here, and of course the experience and horror stories of others. If people are already skeptical when they place the phone call, the technician comes out, they're getting the pitch, like you said, they're getting the upsells. So there's skepticism all along the way. And your process here is designed to alleviate that and build the opposite feeling, which is trust and credibility, likability. And one thing you actually hear from people who train salespeople is get the sale, shut up, get out of there. And to me, that's kind of like you're not even confident in the value of what you just sold because you feel like they're going to change their mind if you stay there with them. And you're saying the opposite, which is I'm going to reinforce everything that you've experienced up to this point where I'm going to have a stronger sale.
Correct. Absolutely. Leave the customer feeling good. And what we do is we send a quick survey afterwards of how do we do. And typically, if it's a good survey, we don't get a response every single time if it's a good survey, but if it is, we'll try to push them into letting people know online, whether that's through Facebook or a testimonial, Yelp. But if it's bad, those are the ones we try to get in front of and make that a learning experience. And I'd love to tell you that there was never a problem in our 6,000 to 7,000 jobs we do a month, but that's not real life. But we make them learning experience and we learn from them every day. And the good news is, the definition, I'm sure you've heard this and the listeners have heard this, the definition of insanity is continue to do the same thing. Well, when there's a problem, it's what do we do to fix it and make it better? But more importantly, how do we switch the process to stop from that happening again?
So you have a process for dealing with the reviews and the problems. And I know you also have a process for just simply following up because the real riches are in the follow-up and not the first money from a customer, but the second money and the referrals. So talk a little bit about your follow-up methodology.
So I believe in as much automation as possible. We built an API into a company called Skipio that text messages out, and it's got a lot of business logic built into it. And one of the things, 3 days before you get a garage door installed from us, it'll text message you and say, we're texting to confirm your appointment in 72 hours, whatnot. And it says a couple other options we have for you. And there's some videos. There's to upgrade all your moving parts on the door. And then there's garage door, storage solutions that we offer as well. And if they're interested and they click the button, we know they clicked it. We could call, we could follow up because we could see every single thing they clicked on. And I also believe that the biggest asset you have is your customer list. And if it's used correctly, and you don't take advantage of it, but you use it. We have 203,000 customers sitting in our CRM right now. And if you could learn to build the lifetime value of each and every customer, we sell a service agreement. It's $10 a month. We've got about going on 2,000. So what's pretty cool, Art, is I'm collecting $20,000 a month. We come out once a year. We do a free tune-up. We call you. We handle it. But here's what I figured out, is you're actually in line. It might be 6 years from now, but you're in line to buy a new door from me. You're not shopping because you already got a service agreement. We've built our credibility. We've showed up. We did a great job. And 6 years down the road, I know that you're going to use us to buy a new, beautiful garage door. So there's a lot to it, but you're right. The key's in the follow-up, and that's the third step of rapport, educate, follow up. And luckily, our CRM has a tool to show us the last time our technicians followed up, and all the calls are recorded for quality assurance. And we can make sure to see that you're doing your job. And if you're not, I've got a full-time gal. Her name's Heidi. She sits right outside of my office here. And that's all she does all day is follow up. And guess who the number one salesperson in the company is in revenue?
Heidi.
Heidi is. Yep.
Of course. Wow. We just barely scratched the surface, and we've gone longer than I think any other show. And wow, I'll tell you what, let's sum this up. So what final advice, Tommy, do you have today for anyone in sales in any industry?
So people do what you inspect, not what you expect. And if you build systems around your business, the question I ask people all the time is, Art, if I was to tell you today, I'm going to take you, your wife, your kids, your dog to Hawaii. I'm paying for alcohol. I'm paying for food. I'm paying for the volcano trips. We're going for 3 weeks. Now, here's the catch. You need to leave tonight. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. The trip is not available unless we leave tonight. What would your business look like when you got back? And most people would say it would be a mess. And it's because it's not systematized. They don't have checks and balances. They don't know their key performance indicators that matter. And they don't reward the right stuff. So I would say a couple things here. Build systems around everything. Make sure you've got manuals for each every position. You teach people how to play the game and how to win the game, because most people don't understand how they could win at their job. And then on top of that, reward the right stuff. Catch somebody doing something good. When a baby's born, you don't spank them when they don't walk. You congratulate them and cheer them on when they take their first step. And we miss that in business. We tend to only be able to point out the negative things. And with millennials this day and age, you got to constantly give positive feedback. And sometimes you just need to do a redirect and tell them you're focusing on the wrong stuff and there's a way about going about it. But the systems and the procedures and the checklist dictate how the company runs, and that's what makes it scalable and not so reliant on you, the business owner, but the systems.
Wow, great advice, not just for business owners, but for anyone, even if you are a salesperson working for a company, because essentially you are a company of one, and everything that Tommy talked about here certainly applies. Tommy, thank you so much for being with us today. Let's end with, we have one more thing. Hey, everybody, you know what time it is.
Your attitude will be iron every way, you'll never feel what they say. The art of the sales quote of the day.
That's right. It's time for the quote of the day, one of our regular features here. So, Tommy, I know that you have many mentors and many people that have inspired you in your career. So, what's one of your favorite quotes, and why is that important to you?
All right, here we go, Art. If you don't make the time to work on creating the life you want, eventually you're going to be forced to spend a lot of time living the life that you don't want. And the reason why I love that quote is because if there's only one person you need to deal with if you don't have the life that you want to be living, and you need to look in the mirror. And a lot of people, they say, I'm living for today. I don't know if I'm going to have it tomorrow, but I think you could do both. And if you don't make the time on working on creating the life you want. I just love that quote so much. It really hit me like a ton of bricks when I first read it. So it's very, very powerful to me. And I think it really helps a lot of people out around me that when I tell them that.
Well, essentially, it's all about personal responsibility. I mean, everybody's in the position they're in right now as a result of the decisions we've made up to this point.
Absolutely.
decisions and actions or inactions. All right. So again, thank you, Tommy, for being with us. Let people know how they can contact you and anything else that you would like to share.
Yeah. So Art, you were on the podcast. It's the homeserviceexpert.com, homeserviceexpert.com. And then I made the book free. All you got to do is cover the shipping. It's homeservicemillionaire.com/success. That's homeservicemillionaire.com/success. And then, you know, I'm probably like you, Art. I have so many email addresses. I'd say my main email address is the number 1, lead, LEAD manager @gmail.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn, Tommy Mello. You can't miss me. I use LinkedIn quite a bit, but I got to tell you, Art, I really enjoyed this, and I always enjoy catching up with you, and we got to go hit the golf ball soon.
We will do that. Tommy, thank you again so much, and we'll put those links in the show notes as well. So before we end, speaking of helping people, which is what this entire show is all about, right? Would you help a couple other people and tell them about this show? Send them to our show site, which is theartofsales.com, theartofsales.com. And if you do not yet have my free book, go to freesalesbook.com, and just cover the shipping, and we'll ship that out to you in the U.S., and we have a special deal for international customers there as well. Thank you so much for investing your time with us today. Until next time, go out and make it your best sales day ever. I'm Art Sobczak.